right back with another exclusive. Today we have none other than Modell, STL Modell, or just Modell, man. And I would be remiss if I didn't say R.I.P to Modell. So R.I.P to Modell, man. And if you haven't done so already, definitely hit that subscribe button, man, because I think y'all enjoy this case. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. So today we have a homicide and a first degree murder. Occurrence is 6344 South Rose on the sidewalk. Occurrence date is October 13th, 2012 at 1900 hours. We have a victim, and their demographics is listed as male, age 17. We have another male black, age 18, and a witness that is female and 19. All right, and the other first aid was by EMS. The injury extent was fatal. Excuse me. A gunshot wound, handgun. All right, suspects unknown. Demographics: male, black, 5'2", 45 pounds. Unknown eyes, unknown hair, unknown hairstyle. Age 17 to 19, but a dark complexion. And here we have a summary. In summary, both victims went to above location to visit witness redacted with a date of birth of redacted, phone number redacted. While standing in front of the above address, offender approached on foot displaying handgun, wearing all black clothing, including hoodie hiding his face. Offender fired multiple shots, striking both victims several times. Modell McCambry, the victim, expiring from his wounds, pronounced at 2212 by Dr. Wiley at Stroger Hospital. Modell McCambry, victim, redacted, on scene at hospital, notification made by hospital staff. Redacted, victim shot multiple times in serious condition at Northwestern Hospital. This is believed to be an ongoing gang conflict between the STL Boys, a gangster disciple faction, and the Wick City Boys, black gangster disciple faction from Parkway Gardens. And this is a progress report, and this was submitted on November 11th, 2012. All right, for the suspect, we have an unknown offender, but a male black, 17 to 19, 5'2", 145 pounds, and a dark complexion. We know the victim's injuries. He was transported to Cook County. Inventory. Some discharged 9mm casings, pair of bloody blue jeans, cargo hat, we have witnesses. Is a male black 18, male black 16, and a female 19. Seems to be another female black 29, a male black 25. Listed criminal organization is Gangster Disciples by his own admission. Let's see if any more has any gang ties. This person does. This male black 16, but they redacted it. All right. Okay, we're getting into an investigation. It's a homicide of McCambry Modell, male 117, and an additional victim of an aggravated battery, male 118. All right. Investigation on October 30th, 2012. The reporting detectives continued the investigation into the shooting death of Modell McCambry and aggravated battery of redacted, which occurred on October 13th, 2012. In furtherance of this investigation, the reporting detectives went to Northwestern Memorial Hospital at 1900 hours to see if redacted could be interviewed. The reporting detectives were directed to the attending physician, Dr. Sternbach, and Dr. Sternbach stated that the victim was in a medically induced coma and still listed in very critical condition. It should be noted that Redacted was briefly interviewed before he went into surgery on the night of the shooting. During that interview, Redacted related in essence the following. Stated that he was standing behind a gate in the 6300 block of roads. Redacted stated he was in the company of Redacted Modell, a friend named Redacted, and a few other unknown people. Redacted stated that while they were talking, the offender walked up to the gate and began shooting. Redacted stated that he collapsed to the ground as the offender continued shooting. Redacted described the offender as a male black, 15 to 20 years old, dark complexion, and wearing a dark hooded sweatshirt. The interview ended with the victim being taken into surgery. This investigation remains in progress. And the next document we have is another case supplementary report, which is a progress violent scene report. And they list the victim, as we know, to be Modell. The suspect is still unknown. And what we'll do is scroll down till we see some new information. Right, and this individual was still in school, it seems. All right, and we're down into an investigation. It says the weather and lighting for the time of the homicide was cloudy, and the temperature was in the 60s. Of course, the victim, and then the additional victim. Lists where McCambry was transported to Stroger Hospital by CFD ambulance number 49. And injuries: 1 gunshot wound upper chest lodged, 1 gunshot wound lower right arm lodged, 1 gunshot wound right middle side of back lodged, fatal. All right, and he was pronounced by Dr. Wiley at John Stroger Hospital. We have Redacted: multiple gunshot wounds to upper and lower extremities listed in guarded condition. All right, and they notified the family, and wanted is the unknown male black teen. The weapon is an unknown handgun capable of firing 9mm rounds based on evidence recovered at the crime scene. The lone offender approached on foot, fired a handgun multiple times, striking both victims / gang related for manner and motive of the crime. We have more evidence listed here: 4 discharged 9mm cartridge casings, a pair of bloody jeans, and the black cargo hat. All right, we have some eyewitnesses that are redacted and some pod cameras that are redacted. All right, we have an investigation. The reporting detectives were assigned this investigation by Sergeant Sean McGovac of this command on Saturday, October 13, 2012 at 22:30 hours. Upon being assigned, the reporting detectives learned that at approximately 21:19 hours, 2 people were shot at 6344 South Roads. The reporting detectives also learned that the investigation was initially assigned to Dr. James O'Brien. However, at 22:12 hours, one of the victims, Modell McCambry, died as a result of his injuries, and the investigation was reassigned. The reporting detectives immediately responded to the crime scene. Upon arrival at the crime scene, the reporting detectives were briefed on the summary by Detective O'Brien. The reporting detectives learned that the surviving victim, Redacted, was standing inside the gate at Redacted. During that time, his cousin, Modell McCambry, walked up and joined the conversation. Moments later, the lone offender, who was walking northbound on the west side of Rhodes, approached the victims and fired multiple gunshots. The offender fled on foot southbound on Rhodes. McCambry was transported to Stroger Hospital, where he died from his injuries. Redacted was transported to Northwestern Memorial Hospital and immediately taken to surgery. The reporting detectives observed the crime scene to be a residential area consisting primarily of single-family homes and 2-story apartment buildings with vacant lots scattered throughout the block. Rhodes is a one-way northbound street with 1 lane for traffic and a lane for parking along the east and west curbs. The street was illuminated by overhead streetlights. An outer perimeter was established with yellow crime scene barrier tape stretched across the street from the east to west at 6311 South Roads and at 6355 South Roads. An inner perimeter was established with red crime scene barrier tape stretched across the street from east to west at 6335 South Roads. In addition, there were marked units blocking the streets at both ends of the block. Located at 6344 South Roads was a 3-story apartment building that included a ground level apartment. There were lights mounted to the exterior of the building approximately 10 feet above the ground that were inoperable. Immediately north was the similar 3-story building with the address of 6342 South Roads. The exterior lights on that building were operable and illuminated the front yard. The buildings were surrounded by a black wrought iron fence with a front gate that was unlocked at the time of the shooting. Observed on the ground in the threshold of the gate were 4 discharged 9mm cartridge cases. Observed on the ground a couple of feet north and west of the cartridge cases was a pair of blue jeans that had been cut off of redacted by paramedics. The pants were bloody and had at least 5 apparent gun holes on the leg areas consistent with the victim's injuries. Observed on the ground in the front yard near the fence in the front of 6342 was a black cargo type hat that reportedly belonged to redacted. When the reporting detectives arrived on scene, evidence technician Edwin Jones, assigned to Beat 5821, had already begun processing the crime scene. Assisting detectives conducted a canvass of the immediate area, subsequently located and interviewed 2 eyewitnesses, redacted and redacted. Redacted was interviewed on scene by Detective March and related in essence the following. Redacted stated that she is a student at Redacted, stated that she was home for the weekend to visit family and friends. On the date and time of this incident, Redacted stated that while they were talking, a lone offender walked up from the south, produced a black handgun, and fired between 5 to 10 gunshots. The offender then fled southbound on Rhodes. Redacted related that the offender walked straight up to McCambry, who was standing by the open gate, and believed he was the intended target. Redacted described the offender as a young male black subject dressed all in black clothing with a hoodie. Redacted stated that Redacted is not associated with any gangs. However, McCambry is a member of the Redacted faction of the Gangster's Disciples. Redacted had nothing further to add, and the interview ended. Redacted was also interviewed on scene by Detective March and related in essence the following. Redacted stated that she was home entertaining guests when Redacted heard approximately 8 gunshots. Upon hearing the gunshots, Redacted stated Redacted looked out of her front picture window and saw a muzzle flash coming from the offender's weapon as he continued shooting. Redacted stated that the offender then fled southbound on Rhodes on foot. Redacted described the offender as being dressed in all black clothing with a hoodie. Redacted had nothing further to add, and the interview ended. The reporting detectives released the crime scene at 23:40 hours and returned to Area Central Headquarters to continue the investigation. The reporting detectives submitted a request for the 911 recordings and crime scene photographs. In addition, a request was submitted for pod number 1146 located at 6401 South Eberhart and pod number 4058 located at 6500 South King Drive. The firearms evidence recovered at the crime scene was forwarded to Illinois State Police Division of Forensic Services for analysis. A review of the PCAD report indicated there were multiple calls to 911 at the time of the shooting. Efforts are underway to interview those callers, the results of which will be documented in future progress report. Efforts to identify the person responsible for the shooting, death, Modell McCambry, and critically injuring Redacted continue, and this investigation remains in progress. All right, and we have up next another progress report, a progress violent scene report, and this one was submitted on October 21st, 2012 at 18:37 hours. All right, and there is no suspect, still unknown. All right, and we'll scroll down to where we can find an investigation potentially. All right. We know they were taken and transported. We know the injuries. All right, we know the manner and motive. Okay, they requested these pods. All right, and we have an investigation which will start. The reporting detectives were assigned this investigation by Sergeant Sean Govak of this command on Saturday, August 13, 2012. Let me make sure we're not rereading. Upon arrival. Yep, okay, this is a copy of the above statement that we read, so you guys can go back and read that. But yeah, we pretty much know this information here. And yep, that he is a member of the St. Lawrence Boards here. All right. And we have a progress lineup document. This was submitted on March 11th, 2013. And this is a field investigation progress lineup report. The suspect is still unknown. We still know these witnesses, so we try to get to an investigation if we can here. Okay, we got some evidence. Photo array form signed by Redacted on February 27, 2013 at 1952 hours. 5 digital photographs with demographics. On Wednesday, February 27, 2013, the reporting detectives continued the investigation into the shooting death of Modell McCambry and the aggravated battery of Redacted, which occurred on the 13th of October, 2012. The reporting detectives had occasion to interview Redacted, who had been transported to the Redacted. During that interview, Redacted agreed to view a photo array in an attempt to identify the offender. At 1952 hours, Redacted was presented with the department's advisory form, which he read and signed. Redacted immediately viewed 5 digital photographs, including that of Redacted. While viewing the photographs, Redacted pulled out the photograph of Davon Bennett and set it apart from the others. Redacted viewing the remaining 4 photographs and then picked up the photograph of Bennett and stared at it. When asked what was special about that particular photograph, Redacted looked at it again and stated that he recalled the offender's skin color being a little darker than that shown in the photograph. The reporting detectives explained to Redacted how picture quality could vary between photographs and to focus on the subject's facial features. Redacted then gathered up about 5 photographs and stated he did not think a photograph of the offender was amongst those presented. The photo array and advisory form was subsequently inventory under inventory number listed. Okay, we have a reclassified document here and in the case supplementary report, and this is date submitted January 27th, 2020 at 11:52 hours. And this is a field investigation reclassified report. The suspect is still unknown. Okay, we'll get down to an investigation. This is a reclassification supplementary report. This report was created in an attempt to correct an error in the CHRIS system. Okay. All right, and that was it for that one. And then we have a progress report that was dated, submitted on October 4th, 2019. They list the victim, of course, as Modell, unknown suspect. All right, and we know that this information is still the same. Information was refused by the non-offender. All right. This report was created in an attempt to rectify an issue with the report within the CRIS system. This incident was initially reported as an aggravated battery/handgun, but reclassified to a homicide. There have been many progress reports, all listing the homicide, but the case will incorrectly show up on area late list as an aggravated battery/handgun. Reporting detectives created this report in order to adjust the IUCR screen in the CRIS system to reflect the homicide. First, by placing in the top slot. All right, and the next document we have is an exceptionally cleared closed other exceptional report. And this was submitted on July 15th, 2022 at 09:13 hours. And this is a field investigation, exceptionally cleared, closed, other exceptional report. And here we have a new suspect listed as Davon Bennett, alias King Vaughn. Some additional info here. Homicide victim in Atlanta. See if we can get to an investigation here. This is an Area 1 cold case, exceptionally clear, closed. Death of the offender report. It says the murder of Gakira Barnes on April 11, 2014. So they're saying that these are associated cases with this one, potentially involvement, in this case here, and these two individuals listed there. All right, weather and lighting is cloudy, temperature in the 60s. Let's see if we can get down to an investigation. We have one offender, Davon Bennett, King Von. He was 26 years old at the time of death. Per Atlanta police report of Bennett's murder, gang, Black Disciple, dead, victim of a homicide, documented under Atlanta case number listed. Weapon 1 Ruger, model SR9, defaced serial number, 9mm semi-automatic, 4-inch barrel, 2-tone in color, handgun recovered. At the address listed, manner and mode, offender approached the victims on foot and shot both victims / gang altercations, rivalry. All right, and so I'm trying to see if there's another investigation they have a bunch of some witnesses redacted, and they interviewed some people, and that's redacted. And so we have an investigation here. On October 13, 2012, Detective J. O'Brien was assigned the immediate follow-up investigation of 2 people shot at 6344 South Rose. One of the victims subsequently died, and the case was reassigned to Detective G. Jones and R. Garcia. The detectives reported to the crime scene and were briefed by Detective O'Brien. They learned that Redacted was standing inside of a front gate at 6344 South Rose, talking to a female black named Redacted. Redacted, Modell McCambry, walked up and joined the conversation. Moments later, a lone individual walked up to the group, produced a handgun, fired multiple times at them, and then fled southbound on foot. The gunfire struck McCambry and Redacted. McCambry was transported to Stroger Hospital, where he was pronounced dead from his wounds. Redacted was transported to Northwestern Hospital and taken into surgery. The detectives observed the crime scene to be a residential area consisting of single-family homes. Along the 2 flat apartment buildings, there were also vacant lots scattered throughout the block. Rhodes was a one-way street with vehicular traffic flowing northbound. There were parked cars on both east and west curbs of Rhodes. All right. And they are saying that they taped this scene up, and 4 9mm shell casings were recovered there, and the bloody blue jeans. And I believe we read this information prior, and they requested some pod video footage there. The firearms evidence was forwarded to Illinois State Police Crime Lab for analysis. A review of the PCAT indicated that there were multiple calls of shots fired at the time of the shooting. Detective Velasquez contacted many of the callers over the course of the next few days. Nothing of substance was gained from the interviews of the callers. Most had heard gunshots and called 911. Some refused to even be interviewed. All right, and they're saying that the pod that they received, the surveillance footage was received and viewed by Detective Jones. Nothing of evidentiary value was gained. On October 14, 2012, Redacted, the victim's father, came to Area Central. Redacted informed Detective Jones and Garcia that Redacted informed him that the offender was a male black named Daquan, and he resided in Parkway Gardens Housing Project. Redacted received this information from a male black named Redacted, who was friends with the victims. Redacted did not know either of the individuals, but he stated that Redacted would be available for the detectives to interview later in the day. Detective Jones and Garcia researched the names of Daquan and Redacted from the area and identified A. Daquan Bennett as potentially being the individuals based on the information given by Redacted, At 1800 hours, Detective Jones and Garcia were notified that two individuals were in custody in the 003rd District for aggravated discharge of a firearm, and that the incident they were arrested for may have been retaliation for the shooting of McCambry and redacted. Detective Jones and Garcia learned that DeAndre Powell, male 125, redacted, and redacted were arrested after they stood in front of the Parkway Gardens housing project at 64 Martin Luther King and fired indiscriminately into the complex, hoping to strike anyone, not a specific target. They were simply hoping to strike any member of the Wick City faction of the Black Disciples Street Gang. Detective Jones and Garcia relocated to the 003rd District. Redacted refused to be interviewed by Detective Jones and Garcia. Redacted agreed to be interviewed. Redacted stated that he had spoken with Redacted regarding the shooting of McCambry, and Redacted Stl informed Powell that he and McCambry were walking on roads when they encountered Redacted talking to a female. Redacted informed Redacted that as he and McCambry were with Redacted and the female, Davon and Redacted walked up. Davon produced a handgun and started shooting. Powell stated that he did not ask any questions of Redacted. Powell stated that he knew who Davon and Redacted were and agreed to view photos to help identify the two. Powell positively identified a photo of Daquan Bennett as the Davon he knew and assumed that Redacted was referring to. Powell tentatively identified a photo of James Johnson Redacted was referring to. However, Powell was not sure about the identification. Detective Jones and Garcia relocated to the residence of Redacted, met with and interviewed him in the presence of his mother. Redacted denied being with the victims at the time of the shooting, denied telling anyone about the shooting, and denied identifying the offender involved in the shooting. Prior to Detective Jones and Garcia departing, Redacted informed them that Redacted was afraid to get involved and did not want anyone in the neighborhood to know he was talking to the police. Detective Jones and Garcia then relocated to the Redacted residence and met with the family of Redacted, and Redacted was there and agreed to be interviewed. Redacted stated that shortly after the shooting occurred, she met with Redacted, informed her that he was with McCambry and Redacted when they were shot. Redacted informed her that he and McCambry walked up to Redacted, who was talking to a female, black. Redacted informed Redacted that Davon walked up to the group, produced a handgun, and shot McCambry. McCambry fell to the ground, and Redacted attempted to shield McCambry, which is when Davon shot Redacted. Detective Jones and Garcia reported to the Redacted family what Redacted had told them. Redacted asked to accompany the detectives and attempt to garner Redacted cooperation. Detective Jones and Garcia returned to the Redacted along with Redacted, maintained his denials even when confronted by Redacted. Redacted stated that she understood Redacted fear and unwillingness to talk to the detectives. She stated that she would continue to attempt to garner Redaction cooperation. If she succeeded, she would recontact the detectives. On February 27, 2013, Detective Jones and Garcia interviewed Redacted in the presence of Redacted and Redacted at the Redacted. All right, and then there's a non-redacted block. We'll start here. As stated that on the night of the shooting, he was walking south on roads and talking to a female black whose name he could no longer recall. When he got to 6344 South Roads, he stopped to talk to his cousin, Redacted, who was sitting on the steps at that address. The female black he was originally talking with continued south on roads. Another cousin, Modell McCambry, and his friend Redacted walked up with a third unknown male black. Redacted stated that the group was talking for approximately 10 minutes when a lone offender approached from the south, produced a handgun, and began firing at the group. McCambry fell to the ground, and Redacted fell on top of McCambry. Both were struck by gunfire. Redacted did not see which direction the offender fled. He could only state that the offender was a male black dressed in all dark clothing. Redacted identified a photograph of Redacted as the Redacted that walked up with McCambry. Redacted agreed to view a photo array put together by the detectives. Redacted read and signed the CPD advisory form. He then viewed the photos, one of which was Davon Bennett. Redacted set the photo of Bennett aside and he looked at the others. Redacted then picked the photo of Bennett back up and stared at it. When asked what was special about that particular photo, Redacted stated that though he thought the offender's skin color was darker. The detectives explained that photographs can alter a person's complexion and to try to concentrate on the facial features. Redacted then gathered up the photographs and stated that he did not think the shooter was in the group of photos presented. The advisory form photos and demographics were subsequently inventoried. On July 18, 2013, Detective Jones and Garcia stated that she was in Redacted. When asked, Redacted stated that she would not view any photo arrays when she returned to Chicago. Redacted stated that she did not get a good look at the shooter's face at the time of the shooting and was still very emotionally affected by the incident. Redacted further stated that she did not want to be involved in the investigation any further. Detective Jones and Garcia were notified by the Illinois State Police Crime Lab on October 2nd, 2014, that the discharged cartridge casings from the shooting of McCabre and Redacted were matched via ballistics to a 9mm handgun recovered during a UU unauthorized weapon arrest on January 11, 2013. A Redacted Chandler was arrested and charged with the UUW for possessing a 9mm handgun on January 11, 2013 at Redacted. An investigative alert was issued for Chandler in order for him to be interviewed regarding his knowledge of the shooting of McCabre and Redacted. In 2015, this case was reassigned to Detective Denihan of the cold case team due to the retirement of Detective Jones. In 2019, reporting detectives along with Detective DeChico were contacted by Cook County State's Attorney's Office ASA. Sarah Grigovac requested that reporting detectives reopen and reinvestigate a case in which a Davon King Von Bennett was named as the offender in a homicide. This case was the homicide of Gakira Barnes, which occurred at 6451 South Eberhart on April 11, 2014, referenced under RD number listed. It was determined that when the Cook County State's State Attorney charged Bennett with the murder of Barnes, attempts would be made to re-interview the potential witnesses in the McCabre case. It was hoped that their cooperation would be more forthcoming if Bennett was in custody and charged with first-degree murder. The hope was that the witnesses' fear of retaliation would be lessened if Bennett was charged and in custody. While investigating the Barnes homicide, reporting detectives learned that Davon Bennett was shot and killed in Atlanta, Georgia. The homicide occurred on November 6, 2020, and was documented by the Atlanta Police Department as an Atlanta police case listed. Reporting detectives researched and learned that Redacted was in custody at the Beckley Federal Correctional Institute in Beaver, West Virginia. Reporting detectives contacted Special Investigations Supervisor Michael Austin on March 31st, 2022. Special Investigator Austin agreed to interview Redacted and show him a photo array. Reporting detectives emailed Austin a CPD advisory form as well as a photo array. Later that day, Austin interviewed Redacted essentially stated that he was standing with his friend McCabre when two unknown individuals approached and then he heard gunshots. He fled and did not look to see who had shot at them. Redacted refused to view a photo array. Stl was not cooperative per investigator Austin. Reporting detectives researched Redacted and learned that she was living in Redacted on April 4, 2022. Reporting detectives contacted Redacted via telephone and she agreed to be interviewed. Redacted stated that she was currently serving in the Redacted. She was stationed at Redacted. Redacted stated that she remembered the shooting well and knew that King Von was the offender. Redacted stated that Redacted did not know King Von's proper name as Davon Bennett, but knew he was the offender. Redacted stated essentially the same facts as she had at the time of the shooting. A lone gunman approached on foot and shot both McCabre and Redacted. Redacted believed McCabre was the intended target. The lone gunman then fled the scene on foot. When asked, Redacted stated that she did not recall any other individuals that may or may not have been at the scene, and she was sure there was only one offender. Redacted explained that in approximately 2017 to 2018, a friend of hers, Redacted, started dating King Von Bennett. Redacted sent a photo of Bennett to her via cell phone, but Redacted could not remember if it was via a text conversation or via Facebook. Redacted immediately recognized Bennett as the offender who had shot McCabre and Turner in 2012. Redacted informed reporting detectives that she remembered the fear that she felt upon seeing that photo. Redacted informed Redacted of this information and told Redacted she never wanted to be in the presence of Bennett if Redacted continued to date him. Springfield did not continue to date Bennett, eventually having his child. Redacted honored Wiggins' request, so Redacted never did see or meet Bennett in person. Redacted was aware that Bennett had been killed in Atlanta in 2020. Reporting detectives attempted to locate and interview Redacted, who had been arrested with the murder weapon. Reporting detectives located Redacted family at Redacted, answered the door, and another female black identified herself as Redacted, stated that her daughter, Redacted, is Redacted mother and that she also lives at that residence. Per Redacted, the woman do not know where Redacted lives or if he has a job. Redacted stated that she did remember him being arrested for the UUW in 2013. Redacted stated that Redacted had told his mother as well as herself that it was not his gun, but that it was in a vehicle with other individuals that were juveniles when they were stopped by the police. Redacted claimed the police arrested him for the handgun because he was the only adult in the vehicle. Reporting detectives continued to attempt to locate and interview Redacted by checking other older addresses as well as dialing phone numbers associated with him. All efforts were negative. Reporting detectives attempted to contact Redacted by visiting Redacted again, but was met with the same answers and the results. Redacted stated she could not supply reporting detectives with a good address or phone number for Redacted because she did not know of one and had not seen or spoken to him in some time. She stated that they redacted due to his lifestyle. It can be surmised that if reporting detectives were to locate and interview Redacted, he would likely deny having possessed a handgun or provide the same version of the story his Redacted had relayed to reporting detectives about being the only adult in the vehicle when stopped by police. Reporting detectives met with McCambry's Redacted. Reporting detectives informed Redacted of the fact that Bennett was identified as the offender that shot and killed McCambry and that Bennett himself was dead. Monroe stated that he had been informed that Bennett was the offender in his Redacted and that Bennett was dead. Redacted was informed that the case would be exceptionally clear closed and stated that he understood. Reporting detectives contacted Redacted via telephone. Redacted agreed to speak with reporting detectives and did so on speakerphone on his end with Redacted. Reporting detectives informed Redacted of the fact that Bennett was identified as the offender that shot him, Redacted, and McCambry, and that Bennett himself was dead. Redacted stated that he knew that Bennett was the offender and knew that Bennett was dead. When asked, Redacted stated that he did not recall any other individuals that may or may have been at the scene. He also stated that there was only one offender. Redacted was informed that the case would be exceptionally clear closed. He and his parents stated that they understood. In conclusion, it is the contention of the reporting detective that in this investigation has proven to the satisfaction of the Chicago Police Department that on October 13, 2012, at 6344 South Rose, Davon King Von Bennett shot both Modell McCambry and Redacted, killing McCambry while wounding and subsequently Redacted. One eyewitness, Redacted, identified the offender as Davon King Von Bennett to the victims' families and others in the immediate aftermath of the shooting, but would not do so when interviewed by detectives. In 2022, Redacted was interviewed and re-interviewed and positively identified Davon King Von Bennett as the shooter. Redacted explained that approximately 4 to 5 years ago, she was shown a photo from her girlfriend of that girlfriend's new boyfriend, Bennett. Redacted instantly recognized Bennett as the individual that she saw shoot McCambry and Turner. She advised her friend of how she knew Bennett and refused to ever be around him. Both McCambry's family, as well as Redacted and his family, had known that Bennett was the offender, while also knowing that witnesses would not cooperate with the police so that Bennett could be arrested and charged accordingly. All the involved parties also knew that Bennett had been killed in Atlanta, Georgia in 2020. Reporting detective confirmed this via Atlanta Police Department documented under the Atlanta Police case number listed. Due to the positive identification of Davon King Von Bennett as the lone offender that shot and killed Modell McCambry while wounding Redacted, but Bennett's death precluding him from being arrested and charged, reporting detectives request that this case be exceptionally clear, closed. Other exceptional, death of the offender. Report of Detective Deahan and Detective Lopez. And that takes us down to the end. And I thank you guys so much for chatting and checking in. Excuse me, can't talk. Thank you so much for checking in and checking this out, man. Peace.